Hello there, my name is Hocus and welcome back to the Minecraft LP series for episode number 3. Before we jump into anything too crazy today, do not forget to like the video if you enjoy it today. If you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe to stay tuned. And finally, any comments, leave those down in the comment section below. Questions, suggestions, feedback, I'm after it all. Let me know, guys, let me know. All right then, with that out of the way, let's head down into the basement because in between episodes, off camera, I've been grinding and mining, and I think I've now got enough mineral blocks to create a beacon base. So the first thing I'm going to do today is head back down into the branch mine, find a good place to set this thing up, and I'm just going to go to work because I'm not going to lie, beacon mining is one of the most fun things you can do in Minecraft. So we're down at the bottom of the branch mine, Y -58, and I've got 9 more blocks to place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the big moment, the beacon, Haste, Haste 2. Oh yeah. There it is. Very nice. Now, I've never haste mined deep slate before. Still quite slow. I'm yet to decide at which level I want to begin. I'm thinking we should probably take a look at the ore distribution chart and figure out a level at which we can mine a good variety of ores. Looking at the chart, Y level 8 looks like a decent shout for a good distribution of ores, and it also means that we can avoid deep slate, which makes things much faster. I'd say that my only concern now is the durability of my pickaxe. I don't really have any good way to repair it with the mending enchantment, and I don't want to be spending diamonds to repair it, so we might have to be a little bit careful about how much fun we have. I've been digging a while now, and haven't really had too much success, if I'm totally honest. This is my quote-unquote valuables chest, so all of my ores and minerals, that kind of thing, and you can see there's not too much going on in there. But on the other hand, I do now have a bunch of building materials, which is always nice. Pickaxe is on the ropes a little bit, but I have devised a strategy to solve that problem. Do you guys remember in episode 1 when we found that spider spawner? Well, it was somewhere over there, now covered in cobblestone. If we come down this little staircase here, we will be brought out into the very underdeveloped killing chamber for the spider farm that I've built off camera. So if we chuck the pickaxe into the offhand and just swipe away at these guys, it is possible to repair it. Although very slowly. So I guess to conclude, as I do find some coal, a little bit ironically, and some iron. Oh dear, Hocus, maybe you should do another take. So, to perhaps conclude this section, the opening portion of the video, I would say that although Haste 2 mining is still extremely satisfying, I mean, listen to the sound, it potentially isn't as profitable as it once was. Which is a deep shame because, as I've already mentioned, it is genuinely one of my favorite things to do in this game. Another of my favorite activities in Minecraft, and one that may even also trump Haste 2 mining, is building. So in just a moment, after I have collected some final resources, which is essentially just this wall, we are going to be looking for a nice plot of land in the local area. And ideally what I'm looking for is a grassy area with a lot of open space and something that isn't too crazy, not too hilly, something that's relatively flat. And hopefully not too far away from our house as well. It would be nice to congregate all of the builds in a local region. I think this is it, guys, right here. I like this spot, although we will have to cover over this cave, which doesn't seem to lead anywhere by the looks of things. Nope, it's just one of those weird caves with two... This is interesting. 2 openings, so insignificant. Sweet. So we have a little bit of space cleared out, and I have got some goods with me, so... what do we bring with us to build today is the question. Boom, shulker box. Boom, another shulker box. Shulker box 1, full. Shulker box 2, empty. Boom, crafting bench. Boom, stone cutter. Boom, inventory full of all of the nice things required for the build. As well as all of this and my inventory, which I've now unloaded into the empty shulker box. That was the purpose of it. I'm going to build a temporary tree farm over here because we are going to need a lot of oak wood. With that wonderfully technical oak farm in place, we can begin the build. Gonna kick things off with some deep slate, and let's line this thing up a little bit, maybe right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uh-oh. 1. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And we've got ourselves the basis of the build. Up another couple blocks all the way around. 3 high is what we're aiming for. With that in place, it's time to remove some of these blocks because I'm going to be replacing them with some slightly different, but very much in the same palette textures, as they are going to be generally deep slate textures as well as a little bit of tough. And that little process, my dear viewers, gives us the foundation for this build. Now you might be wondering, pillager raid party, hold on. What I was about to say before being very, very rudely interrupted was, you might be wondering what we are aiming to build here. And the answer to that question is a nice little windmill. I'm going to have a wheat farm running around the outside of it, and maybe a little wall around that. I haven't really decided yet. I've only planned the windmill build. But inside the windmill, and I don't want to give too much information away because I haven't really planned this either, and it is content for another episode, is going to be some sort of underground area with a few farms in it. And that is as much as I'm going to tell you, so that you have to tune in for the coming episodes of the LP series. Anyhow, guys, in just a moment here, we are going to jump into build mode, and that means I will talk to you in just a few. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, activate. Whilst the time-lapse is playing in the background, which is, of course, some footage of me piecing together the windmill, I figured we could talk a little bit about my personal life and describe an unfortunate week in the life of Hocus. For reference, it is currently Sunday the 12th of December, so the week in question is the current week. However, to get the story started, we need to go back a week. So going to last week, I was working with my uncle. I've talked about it a little bit. We build extensions together, or I'm helping him build extensions. He does the majority of the work. I'm just a spare pair of hands to make sure everything goes smoothly and to make life a little bit easier. And the extension we're working on has a 5-meter opening for a set of custom bifold doors that we've ordered. Now, the thing about these doors is they come flat packed like an IKEA piece of furniture. So you have to build them yourself once they arrive. And bifold doors operate in a way that you have individual panels running across the door frame that can fold open, slide along a rail, and they just open and close in some weird and wacky ways so that you can almost extend your house out into the garden. When we were piecing it together, you have 5 roughly 1 meter long doors that piece together to create the entire door. And as we're fitting the middle one onto the rail, he asks me to move to the other side of the frame as I'm holding it. So walking past the frame, my heel clips the bottom of the frame, which forces the frame up, and unfortunately for my uncle, his thumb gets squished between the door frame and the railing that it sits in. So of course this causes him great pain, and the nail goes purple within like a minute or so. It's really, really painful for him, and eventually he has to use a Dremel to create a hole in the nail to relieve some of the pressure, and it's still causing him issues to this day. Skip forward a week, the doors are in place. The thumb is still really, really hurting my uncle. He complains about it on almost a daily basis. I don't think he's doing it to make me feel bad. It wasn't really my fault, but I kind of did do it, if you know what I mean. Anyway, that's, again, kind of besides the point. We are now taking down a wall because the owners of the home would prefer to have an open plan house rather than doors. I'm working on one side of the wall, my uncle's working on the other. I'm taking the plasterboard off, which is the layer that sits over the top of the blocks or bricks, and he is already past that point and is now taking blocks out of the wall, and they are made of concrete and are extremely heavy. All of a sudden, I hear my uncle kind of gasp, and he's, whoa, 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 and I'm bent down on the other side of the wall to him, and down comes one of these blocks. Fortunately, it was only a very small piece, and hit me on the back of the head, and it was really, really painful because it dropped quite a distance, and these concrete blocks, if you've ever held one, are extremely heavy. Let's take a moment or two to check on progress. I took to Instagram once again for inspiration for this build, and I came across a post that drew me in due to the design of the blades on the windmill itself. Now, what I'll try to do is link that down in the description below. So if you are interested, please do go take a look. But what I've tried to do a little bit more this time, which I definitely didn't do with the house over there, is adapt this build and make it my own. I haven't copied it block for block. And I would say it's a really good idea to do that just because I don't want my world to be full of clones and full of other people's builds. That isn't really the way I want to take this. Also, it doesn't do any good for your building skills if you copy everything directly, because then you don't come up with your own ideas, you don't develop your own building style, and I think really it's not counterintuitive, but I do want to become better at building, so I really should try to come up with my own ideas every now and again. And perhaps what I'd suggest that you do if you're looking for building tips yourself is maybe compare what I've built here to the post itself, and you can sort of try to see what changes I decided to make. And I'm saying all of that assuming that you're going to like the build that I come up with. If not, then I don't know what else to say. Although, like I say, it wasn't a super dangerous situation because this concrete block had been cut down to about 1/3 of its original size. So the block has hit me on the head. Of course, now I'm in pain. I'm rubbing it. You know what it's like when you experience pain and it's a shock. But he's really desperate to figure out if I'm okay. I say, yep, I'm good. It was more the shock that hit me, and he apologizes. We continue on with the day. So I get home from work that day, and I've got a lump on the back of my head. It looks a little bit bloody, a little bit red, and I get in the shower, clear it up, everything's okay. The next day, I don't experience any pain whatsoever. The following day arrives, and we are now plastering the remnants of the wall that we removed yesterday. Plastering is a process that sets the walls up to be decorated once you get round to thinking about the interior. And my uncle has asked me to lay a piece of scrim tape. Yes, scrim tape is the name of the item I was trying to think of. I forgot for a second. Anyway, he asked me to lay some of that up the side of the wall, and it's designed to prevent the plaster from cracking as it dries. So the plaster's wet. We're working alongside an open light switch fixture, so wires are exposed. And as I'm laying the tape, I get this humongous shock, which must have been from the open light switch fixture. And honestly, I wasn't even sure you could get shocked by mains electricity and survive, but apparently in England, things like that are very safe, so the power should trip out before causing you too much damage. Anyway, it still really hurt, and again, it was a massive shock. So that's one day I've been hit on the back of the head by a concrete block. The following day, I've been shocked by mains electricity, which is about 240 volts. Anyway, to wrap the story together and to provide some context as to why I spoke about injuring my uncle first is, do you guys believe in karma? Because I almost feel like I've experienced it this week. So last week I injured my uncle. This week, all of a sudden, I've experienced 2 injuries back to back. And these are like the first really serious injuries I've experienced whilst working with him, which is a little bit of a shock because the construction industry isn't very safe, I would say. Also, I wanted to ask you guys, create some engagement. What is the worst injury that you yourself have ever suffered? Let me know in the comment section down below. Oh yes, and there it is, our beautiful windmill looking fantastic in front of a gorgeous mountain backdrop. Now this build, I planned it out. It isn't massive in terms of the grand scheme of things, but it has taken me a very long time to build. I've been working at this video for 6 hours today, and that isn't counting any of the other time put into this episode. But sometimes it just really surprises me how long these things take, and I think most of the reason why it takes that long is because scaffolding in Minecraft is absolutely terrible in the way that it functions, in my opinion. It really doesn't make the building process any easier than it already is, and to be honest, using blocks instead of scaffolding is most of the time a better option. My solution to this, if there ever had to be one, would be to create a potion that is rather expensive, but is something that you could use frequently enough in the end game to change your flight style to a creative type flight for a certain amount of time. So for example, you drink the potion, and then if you've applied redstone to it, you'll have 8 minutes of creative flight, where if you double tap the spacebar button with Elytra on, you can fly around, hover in the air, and build to your heart's content. I think that would be a much better solution if they were ever going to change that part of the game, which I can't see them doing it. I really can't. After watching back over that last clip, I realized I should probably make something clear. Those 6 hours that I've spent today aren't just on the building. It may seem that way, but that is 6 hours, including the building and then the editing of the video. I edit as I record and build, so it all combines into one space of time. And also throughout that 6 hours, I would have taken breaks as well. I go downstairs to grab food, drink, and just to relax my eyes for a few minutes from time to time. And I should also make it clear that I'm not telling you guys that to make you feel sorry for me or anything. I do this purely out of enjoyment. I really do enjoy sitting here for long periods of time and making these videos. I just wanted to kind of highlight how lengthy builds can be sometimes, even when they're not on a super large scale. Anyway, with all of that aside and enough talking to last me I don't know how many episodes, we can now push onwards with today's build because there are a few more things that I want to add. But first of all, it is probably a good idea to clear these trees out. And I did just hear a zombie. Oh, there you are. Hello. This is the cave that we saw earlier. Now covered over, is dark enough to spawn mobs. I was just about to go crazy and plant a bunch of wheat because that was the other thing that I wanted to add around here was a massive field of wheat. But then I remembered we should probably figure out an entrance to the windmill because we will need to get inside. So if we aim to bring things up to about this level here, I think that would be good. And then we can just simply create a staircase out of slabs that progressively gets lower and lower. We'll probably use some dirt to level out the ground a bit here so that we don't have to create anything too crazy. Then if we chuck some oak logs in every now and again just to form a sort of structure around the staircase. Maybe chuck some barrels in for a little bit of detailing at the bottom of these posts. Not like that, more like this. All right, yeah, so I feel like this works quite well. But perhaps what we should do is maybe add a little bit more detail, and that could be in the form of some stripped oak, maybe, is what I was thinking. Problem is, there isn't absolutely tons of stripped oak on this build, so gotta be careful about applying too much. And then buttons have really served me well when it comes to adding detail, so what I'm going to do is get some buttons placed down. So if they're on top of regular oak, I'll go with oak. If they're on top of stripped, I'll go with spruce. Final touches for the staircase, I've gone ahead and added fences over the gaps on the back and the side, and inside of that I've just gone with the combination of blocks that we've used elsewhere on the windmill. And then coming up the staircase, I've added a door and fixed a framer. These guys do not leave me alone. But back to what I was saying, I fixed the frame around the outside of the door, added one, and now we can get in and out of the windmill, which is cool. Perfect. So now with the staircase in place, I can begin thinking about the wheat farm. So wheat farm is going to be really simple. 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. And then a water source. Line that up with the center of the build. My perspective here is actually very strange. Is this with the center? It is. Okay. Things looked really weird for a second. Anyway, what we're going to do is drop this down 2 blocks, add a shroomlight at the bottom, then some water, and then we are going to waterlog a spruce trapdoor so that we can cover over the water. Then we'll go ahead and hoe the ground. And with the hoeing done, we can get to some planting. A little bit off topic, but this guy just showed up and has promptly trapped himself in the cow farm. Anyway, he's got this trade for melon seeds, and as I have not been able to come across any myself yet, I think I'll take it. And honestly, that may be the very first time I've meaningfully traded with the Wandering Trader. I'm just coming towards the end of my seeds now. Well, I say that, but I've got 2 stacks left almost, which is still quite a bit, but what I've noticed is that a lot of the tilled soil around the windmill isn't hydrating. You can see a lot of it is remaining that bright brown color rather than the darker brown. So my water placement must be a little bit inefficient. I've tried to go for the most efficient method, but when you've got such changes in terrain, like the height is gradually getting lower and lower towards the house there, it can be really difficult to do that. So perhaps what we need to do is re-strategize and think of a different way to create this wheat farm surrounding the windmill. But unfortunately, that is going to have to wait for another episode because we are quickly running out of time if I want to get this episode out in a decent amount of time. It is that time of the episode, guys, coming towards a close, but before we commit to an outro, we do have to, yes, I remembered, look at the comment of the episode for episode 2. So the comment of the episode is from Randolph Stony Skywalker, another subscriber that's been with me for a very long time. So thank you very much, Randolph, for your continued support. And he says, I remember when you fought the Wither and you stood too close to it. It didn't end well. Now, the reason why I picked this one was because it brought back a very funny memory, and the one that Randolph is talking about. So there was a time back then when I was streaming, and Randolph was obviously there to see it, along with a few others, and I decided on stream to fight the Wither. Now, this was recently after the 1.14 update, and in the 1.14 update, they made a change which they quickly corrected, or quickly stopped, or quickly fixed. I don't know if they decided that it was too overpowered, but essentially you could have protection, blast protection, projectile protection, fire protection, all of the protections on your armor together, and it just made armor seriously overpowered. So I had made this cool set of armor that had pretty much every protection you could think of, and I decided on stream using that armor to fight the Wither. Now, everybody knows that when you spawn the Wither, it does that explosion thing before the fight, and I made the stupid mistake of standing too close to the Wither as it exploded, and it managed to take me out in one hit. And that wasn't the worst thing about it, okay? A death is a death at the end of the day. You can always recover. The worst thing about it was the Wither had obviously fired a few more skulls after my death and destroyed all of my armor, and I was no longer able to craft any more of it. So I not only notched another death, but I lost probably the best armor I'll ever have in Minecraft. It was a sad day. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be all from me for this episode. So I'd just like to remind you again, if you did enjoy this video, please drop a like down below. I'd really appreciate that. Any questions, suggestions, comments, feedback, responses to the questions that I've asked in this video, make sure to drop those down in the comment section down below for your chance to be featured in the comment of the episode section in my next video, or the next episode of this series, whichever comes first, or not whichever comes first. It will be the next episode of this series. I apologize for mixing that up for you, and I've probably confused everybody now, but leave a comment either way. And finally, if you are new here, then please consider subscribing to stay tuned to this series and all of the other awesome Minecraft content to come. So once again, guys, take care. I hope you have an awesome week, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now.